Hello students, welcome to this lecture. So in this lecture we are going to see about the voltage regulation and some two methods of finding out the voltage regulations. So what do you mean by voltage regulation? Voltage regulation of an alternator or for any voltage generating or energy generating device in an electrical domain. The voltage regulation of an alternator is defined as the ratio of change in the terminal voltage from no load to full load and the full load voltage. So what does this particular definition means that if you have any voltage generating device or voltage serving device, that device may be having that particular voltage indifferent for both no load and to the full load. So if that device is in no load, the voltage will be full, but if that device is going to be in full load, then the voltage will be getting dropped. So the how much amount of voltage has been getting dropped due to that particular loading condition, that particular drop will be faced by the parameter called voltage regulation. So if that particular dip is very large, then the voltage regulation is very bad. If that particular voltage dip is going to be some small, then the voltage regulation is good. So this is the measure of the particular machine's performance. So the percentage voltage regulation is the measure such wise it is going to be defined as E naught minus V divided by V into 100 percentage. There are different methods available to determine the voltage regulation of an alternator. The first one is going to be direct loading method. The second one is going to be synchronous impedance method or EMF method, that is electromotive force method. The third one is going to be MMF method, the ampere turns method. The fourth one is going to be Pottier triangle method, and it can also be said as a zero power factor method. And the fourth one is going to be the ASA method, that is the American Standard Association modified form of the MMF method. So the MMF method will be somewhat modified in order to get the correct regulation. So these five methods having their pros and cons. So we will be seeing one by one what are all the pros and cons and how to determine the voltage regulation from these methods. So the first one is going to be direct loading method. So in this method we are going to load our alternator by a three-phase load. By directly loading we will be getting the voltage regulation. So at first we will be calculating the terminal voltage of this particular method by not giving any load. So at no load we will be measuring the no load voltage, and after giving the full load we will be measuring that particular full load voltage at a given IF value, that is the input field current whichever we are giving is going to be constant at this particular loading method, and for that particular IF itself what is the value of the VL for both no load and the full load. So from that we can calculate the voltage regulation in this method. So the prime mover is going to be driven at a synchronous speed. So the particular logic which is behind this particular equation is going to be the E phase, that is the generator voltage, is directly proportional to the flux whichever is been given to this particular machine. So by measuring the flux value which is been wasted by the armature resistance or armature leakage reactance or armature reaction, that can be measured from this particular method. But this method will be having an disadvantage. So for high capacity alternators, that much full load that cannot be simulated or directly it cannot be given. So at that situation, the direct loading may not be possible. Hence, the method is restricted only to the small capacity alternators. So the next one that we are going to see is EMF method, that is synchronous impedance method. So for finding out the voltage regulation due to the loading of the machine, we need to first do two experiments, that is called as open circuit characteristics test, and another one is going to be the short circuit characteristics test. So what is the necessity of doing these two kind of characteristics experiment is comes to the mind that in order to find out the synchronous impedance of the alternator. So why to find out the synchronous impedance of the alternator is, so by finding the synchronous impedance, we will be calculating the amount of voltage drop due to the armature resistance and the armature leakage reactance, and in some manner it can include the armature reaction also. But this method will not take care of the armature reaction which is actually there in the machine. So this method will be having some of the disadvantages. So we will be seeing one by one. So what do you mean by a open circuit characteristics means? So we will be giving the field supply to the DC winding, that is for the rotor, and we will be running that particular alternator in synchronous speed. So at that time we will be making the terminals of the alternator as open. So by making that particular terminal voltage as open, we will be giving some of the field current through the field circuit. So by giving such field current to the field circuit, we will be increasing the IF value. So we will be plotting the generated voltage versus the field current graph. So I will be showing it in the next slide. So what will happen when you do this particular open circuit characteristics? So we know the output voltage equation of a particular generator will be EVT, that is the terminal voltage, is equal to EF, that is the generated voltage, plus IA RA plus JXL. So this RA is going to be the armature resistance and XL is going to be the armature leakage reactance. So in this particular equation, if the open circuit mode of an alternator has been given, means this IA will be equal to 0, because the terminals of the output of an alternator will be getting opened, so that the armature current will be 0. So at that instant, if you put this IA to be equal to 0, then VT should be equal to EF. So by this way, we will be finding out the open circuit voltage of one particular alternator. So by giving the input of the flux that is going to be given as an input. So since we know the generator voltage will be directly proportional to the flux which has been given. So whenever we are increasing the flux, the generator voltage will be increasing. So we will be getting the hysteresis characteristics of that particular machine from this particular method, that is from the open circuit method. So from that particular thing, we will be finding out the no load voltage and the full load voltage also. So for that only we are doing this particular open circuit characteristics test. So next one will be the short circuit characteristics test. So what we will be doing for this particular test is, we will be short circuiting the terminals of the armature, that is the alternator. So by short circuiting, after short circuiting, we will be varying the field current in order to flow the short circuit current through that particular short circuit path. So in this condition, the short circuit test, the terminals will be short circuited. So our terminal voltage equation will be becoming like, if the short circuit is been given, then VT will be equal to 0. So if Vt is equal to 0, normally the Ra will be very small. So if the Ra value is going to be small, then Ef is equal to J Ia XL. So what will be the XL? XL is equal to J EF divided by Ia. So what this will do is, whenever we are increasing our EF, our Ia will also increase. So the XL value is going to be constant at some time. So if we vary these two values, then the XL value will also vary. So but this XL value cannot be on exponential variation, it will be an linear variation, so that our short circuit characteristics will be as a linear curve, that is, it is going to be a straight line. So that is the thing which we need to keep into mind. So how our curves will be? So this is our curves. The first curve will be our open circuit characteristics curve. It will be between the open circuit voltage and field current, and the other characteristics will be the short circuit current versus the field current. So this VOC versus IF will be this open circuit characteristics, and short circuit current versus field current will be the short circuit characteristics. So in this particular characteristics, you can notice that in the initial period we will be having the linear variation of the increase in the field current, the increase in the open circuit voltage. So after some time, this particular portion will be coming as a saturation point. So whenever we are giving the field current, the flux will be varying. So that will be varying. The open circuit voltage will also increase. That is, if the field current is going to be increased, then the open circuit voltage is going to be increased. So for that is for also some time only. So if after some saturation point, the machine will be getting saturated. So after getting saturated, the even though if we are giving the field current to be increasing, the voltage cannot be increased at all, because the machine gets saturated. So the characteristics will be coming into a straight line like this. So this is the characteristics of an alternator when we are making that particular alternator terminals as open circuit. So if you are giving the short circuit, then the if you increase this particular field current, since we have seen in the previous slide, this particular variation in the Ia and the EF will be giving the constant XL, so that our particular characteristics of the short circuit characteristics will be as a straight line. So from this we can find out the two values, since we are going to have a single given IF value. So for a single given IF value, we can make the particular projection over this short circuit characteristics and the open circuit characteristics. From these particular projections, we can get the values of the open circuit voltage and the short circuit current for that particular given IF value. So from this we can find out the value of the synchronous impedance. How? Because the synchronous impedance ZS is equal to the open circuit voltage divided by the short circuit current. So this particular values, that is whatever it may be the short circuit current or whatever it may be the open circuit voltage, that particular voltage and the current have to be measured from this particular graph from the given field current. So the field current cannot be varied. So for a given field current, we can measure the corresponding open circuit voltage and the short circuit current. So from that we can find out the value of the synchronous impedance. But here is also a one problem is there. If you are giving the field current value as small as possible, then the particular field current will be giving the value of the open circuit voltage and the short circuit current, which is lying on the linear portion of this OCC curve. That is going from that value, if we are finding out the synchronous impedance, that particular synchronous impedance can be said as an unsaturated unsaturated ZS value. That is, if you are getting the ZS value from the values of the VOC which is lying on the linear portion of the curve, means then that particular ZS is going to be unsaturated ZS. Also, if we are going to get the ZS value which is on the saturation point, means then that particular ZS value will be at the will be set as an saturated ZS value. So the ZS value which we are getting on the saturated point will be somewhat higher than the ZS value which we are getting from the unsaturated portion. So we need to keep that particular concept in our mind. So how to calculate the regulation from this particular calculation? That is, ZS is equal to root of RA square plus XS square, and from this equation we can find out the XS is equal to root of ZS square minus RA square. So how to find out the E phase value? That can be found out from root of V phase cos phi plus IA RA the whole square plus V phase sin phi plus or minus IA XS the whole square. So how we get this particular equation, we will be seeing in this particular video, in this particular slide. Here you can notice we are being generated with this particular V phase. Since our particular load is going to be unity power factor load, then the IA will be in phase with this particular V phase. So since we need to add this particular IA ZS value, we can add the IA RA drop and IA XS drop. So since this IA is on the in phase with this particular V phase, then IA RA will be in this direction and IA XS will be perpendicular to this particular line. So if you add this two vectorially, we will be getting IA ZS value. So if we add this V phase with this IA ZS, then we will be getting the generator voltage. So from this we can get from the triangle OBC. If you want to find out the OC square, then OB square plus OBC square. So what is OB? It is OA plus AB the whole square. So this is going to be the V phase plus IA RA the whole square plus IA XS the whole square, because BC is equal to IA XS. So from this particular equation we can find out the V phase is equal to V phase cos phi, because this is since this particular equation doesn't have the phi as an angle, we don't get the cos phi. V phase plus IA RA the whole square plus IA XS the whole square will be the answer. If you are having a lagging power factor, then the V phase and IA will not be in phase. The V phase will be the IA will be lagging behind this V phase. So we will be drawing this particular from this particular phi angle. So this is going to be a phi angle. The V phase will be leading the IA by phi angle. So we will be getting the IA RA drop as shown here. And if we want to find out the E phase value, we need to add up V phase with the IA ZS. So IA RA plus IA XS will be IA ZS. So if we add V phase with the IA ZS, then we will be getting E phase. So from this graph we can find out the V phase cos phi will be in this particular side, because this is going to be a triangle. Then we will be having V phase cos phi as this side and IA RA this side. So if we add these two values, then we will be getting this side, and if we add these two values, then we will be getting this side. So by Pythagoras theorem we can add the squared value of these sides. So V phase cos phi plus IA RA the whole square plus V phase sin phi Ia excess the whole square. So if you're having the leading power factor, then the Ia excess will be negative. So this will be as negative. So that will be shown in the, that has been shown in this particular slide. So for leading power factor, we will be having the formula as minus over here. So we will be having this particular synchronous impedance for all the alternators. So the advantage over this particular synchronous impedance method is it will be taking the whole synchronous impedance drop of the machine, so that we will be getting the higher value of the synchronous impedance. So we can use this particular method for very high capacity machines also, because we don't need to have the direct load test on any machine. So very high capacity machine can be tested with the open circuit and short circuit test, so that we will be getting the voltage regulation of that machine. But the main limitation of this particular synchronous reactance value, that is the synchronous impedance method, whenever whatever we are getting in this particular method is a larger value of the synchronous reactance, so that we will be getting the larger value of the percentage regulation, which is not practically possible, because since we are seeing the causes for the voltage dip in an alternator as three particular values. One is armature resistance, another one is armature leakage reactance, and another one is the armature armature reactance. So in this particular method, we will be only seeing about the armature resistance and the armature leakage reactance. We are not taking care of the armature reactance over here, so that our value will be somewhat higher only, and it is also not as an practically one.